I would like to start speaking directly to Kyle Juszczyk, the fullback of the team. He's really been on the team longer than most players. And what's interesting about you, Kyle, is you sort of speak for the team. You're a very smart guy. You went to Harvard. We all know you went to Harvard. Some people forget, but you went to Harvard and you play fullback. You don't really get the ball very much. You're a good player. You go to Pro Bowls. You're a leader on the team. But when it's time to interview you, Kyle, there's not a lot of questions to ask you other than what did it feel like to go in motion on 1st and 10? When you were in the backfield and you went from the left side to the right side before the snap, what did that feel like? What was going through your head as you were going in motion? So there's only so many times you can ask that question. Then it comes to like big picture stuff, and people like to ask him big picture stuff because he went to Harvard and he's smart. So you, Kyle, we went on the Rich Eisen show recently, and Rich Eisen, gave you a bunch of softball questions about you, which you loved, of course. Then he asked you about Brock Purdy. He was buttering you up. He was getting you into a talkative mood, and you fell for it, Kyle. He asked you, why did the Brock Purdy experience, why was it so successful? And here's what you said, Kyle Juszczyk. He said, I have to give Brock Purdy like the highest compliment you could give, which is he's a football player. The guy has played a lot of football, a lot of games. You need those live reps. He was out there. He wasn't thinking, he was reacting. He trusted Kyle. He didn't overthink things. He was well prepared. He ran the offense. He trusted his playmakers. He didn't try to do too much. Kyle Juszczyk, I understand you're very smart. And what you did here was essentially only talk about Brock Purdy and praise him. But even though I didn't go to Harvard like you did, I'm also kind of smart. I went to UCLA, and you don't have to go to UCLA or Harvard or any college to figure out that every single thing you said about Brock Purdy on this Rich Eisen show did not apply to Trey Lance. In fact, it's the exact opposite. Every single thing you said would not apply to Trey Lance. Hasn't had the live reps, hasn't played a lot of football games, which means that you think he's not a real football player. Because the definition of a real football player to you is someone who's played a lot of football games and doesn't need those live reps because he's had them already. Someone who goes out there and reacts. You can't go out there and react if you haven't had those live reps. And if you haven't had those live reps, and you're not a football player, according to Kyle Juszczyk. So that's what one of the leaders in the team thinks. You, Kyle, you think Trey Lance really isn't the real deal. I mean, it's not just that he's not a good quarterback. He's not even a football player in your eyes. You need to stop saying stuff like that, man. It's not your place to imply that Trey Lance is not a football player. I know you didn't say he's not a football player, but you don't have to go to Harvard to realize that every single thing you like about Brock Purdy doesn't apply to Trey Lance. And here's another thing, Kyle. What you like about a quarterback is not enough. Basically, you're saying Brock Purdy's a young veteran. He's the youngest veteran. And what made him good is that he plays like a veteran, even though he's 23. And essentially all the Niners need, according to you, Kyle Juszczyk, is a veteran quarterback who trusts Kyle, trusts the playmakers, doesn't try to do too much. No. That's not good enough, Kyle Juszczyk. You had that in Jimmy Garoppolo for years. It wasn't good enough. You think that was good enough. It wasn't. It's not enough to have a veteran who trusts his playmakers and trusts Kyle. You need someone who transcends all of that, which is why Kyle Shanahan traded for Trey Lance. It's why he signed Sam Darnold. Doesn't mean Sam Darnold's going to be that, but you got to aim higher, Kyle, and you need to stop talking about the quarterback spot. A lot of vets on the team kind of talk like you're the voice of the team and you understand what Kyle's thinking and what the team needs. This isn't it. Stop saying like all you need is like, you sound like Flav here. Flav is like the biggest Trey Lance hater who says all the team needs is a point guard and a distributor and throwing the ball down the field doesn't matter. It does. Kyle thinks it does. That's why they drafted Trey Lance. So I know you think you're sly saying all this stuff about Brock and not talking about Trey, but it doesn't take a genius to figure out that none of these compliments apply to Trey. And that as soon as Trey went down, you were the one who said back to 49ers football. So stop. I don't think you do yourself any favors talking about the quarterback spot. We know your preference. You want Jimmy Garoppolo. That's who you want to be the quarterback. And if it can't be him, then you want Brock Purdy. We got it. But it's not your call. And you don't know what you're talking about at quarterback. You're just a fullback. So I would say don't let Rich Eisen do that to you again. You were all way too eager to call Brock Purdy a football player and imply that maybe the other guy isn't. So, Kyle, that would be my number one recommendation to you, because You don't talk that much. And when you do, you don't talk about yourself because you don't get questions about yourself. You get big picture questions about the team because you went to Harvard. And if this is how you're going to talk, then don't say anything at all.